Yo, what's up? My name's Snowbiter, and today I'm going to be trying to 100% one of my all-time favorite games. Now, obviously, I'm not new to this game. I've played it before. On my Steam account, I've only beaten it one time, giving us the opportunity to go back and sweep any of the remaining trophies. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm going back and playing this game if I've already played it before. The reason for that being is that when I first played it, I actually didn't even think about any of the trophies. I was just playing the game to play it. Now, even though I consider myself a god at this game, I only really came back to this game because I have a couple of really hard trophies that I've yet to earn, and the fun part is going to be obtaining all of these trophies together in the same playthrough on hard mode, not dying once, getting 100 kills with 70% accuracy. You're also probably thinking, can you make this any worse? No, and I won't. So I'm giving myself unlimited ammo and able to choose whatever gun I want. But you'll quickly learn that this doesn't even save me from the hell that's about to be unleashed. So here we are, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. This game is considered a 4 out of 10 difficulty with only 2 playthroughs required in 30 hours. We instantly start off the game by running away from a random crew. Having no knowledge of what's going on, the only thing that we're told is to keep that pedal on the floor. We begin to meet our characters, Nathan and Samuel Drake, and the only thing on their mind is getting away from these guys. Obviously, we know exactly what we're doing, so we don't even have to worry about it. After nearly getting my spine readjusted, we hop back on the boat and meet the first enemies of the game. And not even after 10 seconds, I'm 1 HP. I really have never played this game on crushing, so I had absolutely no idea that I'm going to be one shot for a majority of this playthrough. As you can see, I do have the aim assist on, but that's only because I'm one shot 90% of the time, so I literally don't even have the time to readjust my aim. After Sam finishes repairing the boat, we hop back on and start driving away. And after what feels like forever, it really does seem like we finally got away. After the DUI crash, we flash back to Nathan as a child, living in a Catholic orphanage with his parents now gone. It seems like no matter what, Nathan can never just get things quite right. After being scolded by the nun, Sam gives us a signal that he's outside. So off we go into the first chapter, The Lore of Adventure. This chapter has no missable trophies, as only story trophies that we've already gotten during my first playthrough. So we head our way over to Sam. As we pass through the main office, we find our first file. This actually doesn't even count to the trophy, but it's just another file that we can find. So we walk throughout the office and get past Sister Catherine smoking a cigarette. We finally get to Sam, and he tells us that he has something he'd like to show us. But after Sam forgets to prop the door, we figure that we have to go the long way round. After finally getting out of the orphanage, Sam decides to flex his bike on us for some weird reason, and also to tell us that he was going to leave us here for another year and find a different job. After the worst news that we could possibly hear in our life, he finally gives us some good news. He located the buyer of the person who bought all of our mother's old treasure hunting stuff. So he finally lets us tag along as we go and track down the buyer of our mom's old stuff.
You ready for this?
Hell yeah.
We flash forward to Nathan a couple years later in a Panama prison, where after a random fight, we get thrown into solitary confinement, where after being released, the chief tells us that he has somewhere he wants to take us. And it's here we begin our second chapter, Infernal Place. This chapter only has story trophies and a couple of treasures, and the chief, known as Vargas, takes us to the ruins of an older prison, where we soon learn that Nathan isn't actually in here for any criminal acts, but only to go into the ruins to find any clues for the next treasure. But of course Vargas has something to say. He complains he's not being paid more than enough after he read the letter that we brought with us here that says the gold is worth about $400 million in today's money. So we ultimately end up telling him that he can take that up with our friend Rafe. As we go and grab the supplies that Vargas left for us, we actually find our very first treasure of the entire playthrough. Moving forward, we grab the rope thing Vargas left for us. Then we use that to traverse all around the prison to get to the very top. But before we do that, we go and find our first file and our second treasure of the chapter. We finally make our way inside of the top cell, and after some time we solve the puzzle and got what we came here for. We get back to Vargas and actually tell him we found nothing up there, in hopes that he believes that we won't be able to find the treasure. We learn that Sam is actually in here with us, so we walk over and tell him that we have something to show him. Not too long after, Rafe joins the combo and wants to know what's going on. We explain to Rafe the Vargas situation and also the fact that we have something to show him. We bring the cross that we found into the laundry room and show Rafe and Sam to see if we can translate what this means. Not too long after, we get ambushed by the guy that we fought and some of his friends. Realizing we have no other choice, we fight our way through the chaos. Holy shit! Oh, Sam, help me! Ow, you fucking smacked me, you dumbass! Give it to him! And of course, Gustavo pulls out a knife, but it doesn't even matter because Vargas just ends up whooping his ass. Afterwards, we end up getting searched and they obviously found the crucifix, so Vargas ends up bringing us into his office, which obviously Vargas is a little upset with us.
I didn't find anything. It must be in a different tower. Well?
What can I say? I was raised Catholic. I always carry one.
Since Vargas didn't find that too funny, we have Rafe negotiate a deal with him so we can still get out of the prison. As we finally came to a deal and we realize that this nightmare might finally be over, Rafe decides to do the most 1 IQ move I've ever seen anyone do ever in any video game ever. So we realize we have no other choice but escaping this prison by ourselves. As we look our way, try to figure out where we should go in order to get out, Nathan gets a little unlucky. But we finally arrive to the edge of the prison, where Sam gets a little unlucky himself and falls back into the prison after being shot. So we're forced to leave Sam behind and escape the prison. And afterwards, we're given one of the best gaming title cards of all time. But we don't got time for that, so I ended up skipping the whole thing. As it cuts to 15 years later, we see Nathan as a deep diver, introducing us to the third chapter, the Malaysia job. This chapter has a couple of treasures and a couple of files, but I don't think that they count, but I'll show you guys them anyway. The first treasure of the chapter is actually right next to the beginning, and the second treasure is actually a little bit deeper towards the tunnels. The third is way off to the right side of the cargo. We'll find a couple of other treasures later. As of right now, we're gonna make sure all this cargo is in place. After we return the cargo to its rightful place, we get the green light to get the cargo lifted all up out the water. After Nathan does a jump that would 100% break both of his legs, it's time to start chipping away at the optional conversations trophy. In this trophy, you have to listen to every single optional conversation, starting with right after we jump off, we have this salvage worker talking to us. Secondly, right after we go up the steps, we actually have another salvage worker, so that's the second optional conversation in this chapter. And just a few steps away from that, we grab the next treasure of the chapter. After we gather both of those optional conversations, Jameson actually talks to us to let us know about the Malaysia job. Nathan tells Jameson that he's not really interested in the job since he doesn't have the proper permits for it. It fast forwards to Nathan inside of his attic, where we begin the fourth chapter, A Normal Life. This section is actually really cool because if you played any of the last games, it shows a bunch of trinkets and treasures that he collected throughout them. After we view every treasure, there's actually a missable trophy here for hitting every target with a toy gun, except I already got that throughout my first playthrough. After Nate realizes he's too old to be doing this, he heads back downstairs. Whilst eating dinner with Elena, he can't help but miss the life that they used to live. So they decide to see who's gonna do the dishes by a friendly match of Crash Bandicoot. And unfortunately, I had control of this damn game. Okay. Oh my god. Luckily, I already got the trophy for beating the minigame's high score in the last playthrough. Later in the night, Nathan had to get some paperwork done, so he went to his office, but someone just kept knocking even after they were closed. Turns out that was Sam, and he survived a prison escape. After being shot, they threw him back in, but he somehow got away. After conversing with Sam for quite a while, he decides to tell us how exactly he got out of prison. After a full recovery, Sam was put next to his cellmate, that cellmate being Hector Alcazar, a drug lord kingpin with the cartel. For some reason, Hector is really interested in Sam's life, specifically the part about the Henry Avery treasure being worth $400 million. After conversing for a bit, Alcazar actually gets a couple of cartel members to come and break him out of prison. He asks Sam to join him, giving him his dream opportunity of maybe being able to obtain that treasure. Of course, Sam joins him, leading him up to our next chapter, 5. Hector Alcazar. There actually aren't any trophies in this one, no files, no treasures. We're solely focused on getting Sam out of the prison, and that's exactly what we do. As we get into our getaway car with Alcazar, he starts to act a little bit fishy, asking Sam how long it will take him to obtain the treasure. Sam tells him he can't really tell until he gets started. Alcazar didn't really like that answer and only gave him 3 months in finding the treasure. It cuts back to present day, to Sam asking Nathan for his help in finding the treasure. Nathan denies the offer and proceeds to tell Sam that trail's been dead for multiple years. Sam then shows Nathan a picture of the crucifix just like the one in the prison being held at auction in Italy. Nathan accepts the offer only to help out Sam in his current situation and lies to Elena about taking the Malaysia job. Next thing you know, we're in Italy getting prepared for the auction. A familiar face then gives us a sign to head on inside, and it's from there where we begin the 6th chapter, Once a Thief. In this chapter, we actually do have a couple of treasures and a couple of optional conversations. For the first treasure, it's right over here at the edge of this cliff before moving on to the next segment. After avoiding a couple of armed mercenaries, we actually find the next treasure sitting over here on the windowsill. Shortly after that, we get the very first optional conversation with Sam, and then we get the first speed bump of the challenge. Yo, my game just crashed. What the fuck? After loading my game up shamefully, I quickly loaded back into the nearest checkpoint. Later on, we actually got the second optional conversation with Sam, so we're slowly chipping away at this trophy. We finally get to the top of the building and change into our super cool disguises. We finally figured out who gave us that signal, and it turns out, of course, it was Sullivan. Sully then explains the problem that we currently have at hand. They changed the law order, meaning that the crucifix is actually meant to be bidded out right now. So we came up with a plan to turn off the power before it's auctioned off so we can snatch it in the dark. And of course, Nate's job is to turn off the power. Shortly after the cutscene, we find our 3rd treasure of the chapter. Right after that, we walked outside in the patio and grabbed the 4th treasure of the chapter. And right after that, I headed over to Sam to get the final optional conversation of the chapter. As we make our way down to the ballroom, we actually find our first file of the chapter. I know I'm saying chapter a lot, I just don't want you guys to think that it's the final for the whole game, it's just for the chapter alone. When we get into the ballroom, we try to make our way into the wine cellar, but unfortunately, it's locked. With no other choice, we're gonna have to ultimately show this guy what it's like to be a tourist in a different country. Once we get the card and unlock the door, we go over our plan one more time. It's only then we begin to initiate that plan. As Sully starts to flirt with the first woman he sees, Nate and Sam start getting ready to head over to the power room. Not too long after that, we actually find our 5th treasure down here just straight ahead. As we were heading downstairs, I actually did a 180 and found the 6th treasure underneath the stairs. After avoiding some guards, we safely made it out of the wine room. As we climbed our way down this roof, we found our 7th treasure of the chapter. After we figure out where the cell tower is, we hop down another rooftop to grab the 8th treasure of the chapter. It wasn't loading, so I'll give you an upfront view. After that, we greeted this Italian by telling him how we say hello in America. We keep on moving forward to get to that cell tower and end up showing my 4th grade monkey bar skills. It cuts to Sam in disguise as a waiter preparing for the snatch. As Sully is conversing with Nadine, we actually figure out that Rafe is here. Afterwards, Rafe reveals that him and Nadine are working together. As Sully tries to walk away from the conversation, Rafe pulls him closer and asking him how did he find out about the crucifix. Rafe then makes a scene telling him that he will leave with that crucifix. While that's going on, I embarrassingly pull myself up, and shortly after, we grab the last treasure of the chapter. We make our way inside of the electrical room, and just before we're about to turn off the power, Sully tells Nate that Rafe is here and currently trying to purchase the crucifix. We still need more time to turn off the power, so Sully decides to bid against Rafe. Afterwards, we finally shut off the power and grab the crucifix. We hop out of the power room, which leads us to the 7th chapter, Lights Out. There are no collectibles in this chapter, we're only focused on getting out, since once we grab the crucifix, they actually tripped an alarm. I'll mention this now so it makes sense later, but there's actually a trophy here we can grab called Cliffhanger from pulling 20 enemies away from a ledge if we just restart to checkpoint after we pull this guy, but we're gonna grab that after this playthrough when we get all of the sweeping trophies. We check our statistics and we're still at 88% for the entire playthrough so far, and we're actually only on 43 for defeating 100 enemies in a row without dying. As we get to the top of the rooftop, we find out where we need to head towards. As we try to cut through the building and disguise ourselves, we then run into Nadine and she has a wild suspicion that we actually have the crucifix. We tell her we don't know what she's talking about, and obviously she doesn't like that answer. So we prepare to fight each other, and this went about as well as you expected. After somehow surviving that, we make our way towards the ballroom, where on the way we run into an issue, but we end up catching up with Sam. He tosses us a gun and we take out the remaining enemies. And after killing a bunch of enemies, we evidently find our own way to the ballroom.
Here
Oh my fucking god. After making our way through the worst combat moment yet, I was actually struggling here. We pick our sniper and make our way outside. We somehow shoot through this guy and he almost ends our whole streak. Oh my god, dude, almost fucking killed. As we finally make our way towards the limo, what do you know it, our second speed bump. Of course, of course. Why am I even trying anymore? We run it back and make it back with literally a pube hair of health and slowly takes us away. Now I want to use this time to clarify why this game keeps on crashing. It's solely because the PC port of most PlayStation games aren't really that good. This issue also happened with The Last of Us on release date, and it also happened with Spider-Man on release date. Moving on, we open the crucifix and figure out that there's a note inside. We figure out we're looking for a gravestone, with Nate figuring it'd be at St. Dismas Cathedral. Unfortunately, we realize Rafe is going to be there since he bought all of that land, but we decide we're still going since Rafe doesn't have the clues that we do. Once we arrive, we see our destination already being excavated. Actually, no we're not, because we're going to the graveyard to the right of the excavation. With Sully being our escape pilot, we saddle on up and get ready for the next chapter. 8. The Grave of Henry Avery. I do want to mention that the footage here is a little grayed out since my monitor decided to turn on HDR, but don't worry, it's only for this chapter and it isn't turned on ever again. As we walk up this hill a little bit, we actually find the first treasure of the chapter. As we go back towards where we came from, at the edge of this cliff in this cave, we find the second treasure of the chapter. As we make our way toward the graveyard, we actually find Nadine's mercenary equipment, then afterwards being surprised by them the very next moment. After easily taking them out, we decide to keep on moving forward. Later on towards the edge of the cliff, we found the third treasure of the chapter. We then found some dynamite and decide to open up some doors. As we try to move this crate over towards a different place that we can climb, we end up getting ambushed, and after having a few close calls, we end up taking them all out. So we return to pushing the crate, as we use it to climb up on out of there. And shortly after, we find a treasure hidden underneath this cave. As we make our way closer towards the graveyard, we actually find another spot where we can gather a trophy. Right here where we just fell on top of this guy, if we actually reload the checkpoint over and over, it gains us the trophy I Thought I Heard Something, where we need to perform 30 vertical takedowns. Now, just as we mentioned before, we're actually going to come back and sweep this, as we can just restart the checkpoint over and over. Afterwards, we take out the rest of the camp and keep on pushing forward. And after dropping down to this secret ruin, we find and grab the next treasure. Once we finally make it to the entrance of the graveyard, we climb up top and find another treasure hidden near the statue. We make our way inside and find the first journal entry of the entire playthrough. Straight after, we find the real first entry of the playthrough and end up finding Benjamin Bridgman's grave, which was actually Avery's alias. After we turn the skull to the place it should be facing, a set of stairs opened up. As we head down towards the underground cellar, we end up finding the first actual note that counts towards the trophy, and as we got deeper towards the underground cellar, we ended up finding another treasure. We then encounter a puzzle that we're going to have to solve in order to move forward. After discovering the puzzle, we actually find our second journal entry. Just before solving the puzzle, we gather the next optional conversation with Sam. Once we begin to solve the puzzle, it's only after that we get another optional conversation from Sam, and this time the actual second journal entry that actually counts towards the trophy. A window opened up after we solved the puzzle and tells us exactly where we need to go. This is actually where I noticed my game was looking weird through my footage, and I turned off the HDR mode. Why does it look gray? Is it HDR? Yep, and oh my god, does that not look so much better. Again, I'm so sorry about that. I had no idea it turned on automatically. Anyways, I want you to take a guess what happened after we got out. Yep, another ambush. Unfortunately, I wasn't looking at the trophy list and I was supposed to gather another trophy here, Ghost in the Cemetery, basically getting through this whole section without killing anyone or being seen. Now, as you can see behind you, that didn't happen. Actually, you can tell from the very first 10 seconds I hopped out of the underground puzzle place. Didn't realize that the HDR though. So nonetheless, we're gonna have to come back and grab that trophy later. So we made our way through the enemies and got past the big wooden gate. We then update Sully on what's going on and where we're headed. Soon after, we headed towards this little cave opening, which actually led us to the next treasure. It wasn't too long after we found the 24th treasure nearby, and yet again, as we head deeper towards the cave system, we find the 25th treasure. I feel like they're just throwing these around every corner. I also do want to mention that I did skip a couple of combat sequences because I know we're only here for the trophies and mostly the story. Nonetheless, we run over our next speed bump. What? No, all... I was literally above that though. You're probably thinking, what's the big idea? You returned right there, you had a checkpoint, why are you complaining about dying? It actually has nothing to do with my progress, it has more to do with this statistic right here. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I talked about a trophy with getting 100 kills without dying. We were at 66, but we are now at 0. Not only does this put us behind on the trophy list, but this means I have to kill another 100 enemies without dying. So let's get started. We make the jump this time, and as we're heading up top to go to the other cave, we find another treasure. We finally get to the cave the puzzle revealed to us, leading us to a door with a lever we have to pull. So we pull the lever and head inside. It's here we enter chapter 9, Those Who Prove Worthy, where we find a third journal entry of the entire playthrough. Shortly after, we drop down this cliff, steering away from the main path, leading us to find another treasure. After navigating ourselves throughout the whole cave, we evidently get stuck into a room with another puzzle we must solve to keep moving forward. So we solve the puzzle and open the door, which right after leads us to our 4th journal entry. Later on, we swing our way onto this cliff containing the 28th treasure and a really cool Easter egg. As we join Sam with the cool view, we end up getting another optional conversation from him. And hidden just before the next segment is another treasure that we actually almost forgot to grab. As we sneak our way into the next segment, we can hear Nadine and Rafe arguing in the room above us. Nadine tells Rafe that if they don't find something soon, that they're just going to have to move on. After Nate and Sam figure they should get moving before they start blowing everything else up, we find ourselves inside another tomb. And in this room with the statues by the shelf, we find our next treasure. And once again, climbing down this ledge, we find yet another treasure just nearby. Whilst making our way to the other side of this room, in the corner we find our last treasure of the chapter. Finally, oh my. After navigating through the chapter a bit more, we find our second note, and literally right after, we find the room that we've been looking for. In the middle of a room, there's a balance beam with what looks like to be a crucifix and a couple of coins. Nathan tells Sam not to touch it since it seems like the only valuable thing we've seen so far, with Henry Avery trying to teach us a lesson about greed. So Sam picks up one coin, and the room lights up with the next location of where the next clue could be. But before we could even celebrate, Nadine blows her way inside of the cave. Whilst being held up at gunpoint, Sam actually tricks them into picking up the crucifix, causing a trap to go off and for us to begin running away. Oh my god, run! As we make our fast getaway, we have to start making our way towards Sully. So we slide our way down to the ocean so we can meet up with Sully and get out of here. We tell Sully to start heading to Madagascar, and that's exactly what we do. But not without telling Elena that we're still doing the Malaysia job. So here we are in Kings Bay, Madagascar, Chapter 10, The 12 Towers. And when I say that there's a lot of collectibles in this chapter, I mean a lot. This chapter has the most collectibles so far, so I'm going to try to speedrun through it. For starters, we go to this ruin right here and leave the boys behind for a sec, so we climb up and grab the 33rd treasure. I do want to mention that there is a trophy for hitting 16 cairns, which are these rocks that I just hit currently, but I feel like it would be a lot more boring noticing every single one, so I'm just going to show you the trophy popping when it does. Moving on, we lead the gang underneath this waterfall, where we move this crate to hop on up and grab this note and this treasure. That's all that was in that cave, so we keep on driving around, hitting a couple cairns on the way, until we stumble on the way that we're supposed to be headed. So again, off we go, until we hit our first roadblock. So we take the winch from the car and attach it to this tree. We then head up the ruins to find our 5th journal entry. And just on top of the very same place, we find this treasure hidden on top of this box. That's all that's over here, so we head back to the car and go up the hill. We also notice that we're getting closer to our destination. We drive into these ruins, you're gonna notice I say ruins a lot, and grab the next treasure. We then find this little cave and grab yet another treasure inside. We stumble upon this abandoned village, but notice that Nadine's mercenaries have beaten us there. With our only choice being taking these guys out, we get straight to work, baby. It's here I want to mention that there is no way I get that 100 kills trophy on crushing. Guys, I don't even want to give up, but it is simply that I just suck so bad to the literal point that we run out of enemies in order to get it. But it's okay, because just like the other trophies I mentioned before, we can actually go back and grab it in a different encounter later. Once we finish that encounter, we blow open this entrance, we then head inside to grab the 6th journal entry. Afterwards, we keep on moving until we run into another set of old ruins, where we climb up top and find another treasure hidden on top of this windowsill. As we keep moving forward, we notice that Shoreline is much more ahead than us. And once again, we stop at another set of ruins, so we climb up and blow open a hole within this hatch. So we stroll inside and grab a treasure that's on top of this table. Now we head into the opposite direction and happen to find this well, where we take the winch down there with us and wrap it around this beam, where Sully will put the car in reverse and take it down. And whilst he does that, we grab this note here and then head towards the little hole that Sully revealed, where we grab this next treasure. As we keep on moving, we run into another place where the mercenaries have beaten us. After taking them all out, we open another hatch, which leads us to the 41st treasure. And since that's all that's left there, we keep on going forward, hitting a couple cairns on the way. And I'm sure you could have guessed by now, we run into another set of ruins, where just on top of this barrel, we grab another treasure. We then once again run into another set of enemies, so we quickly take them all out, and just nearby we find an entrance to this underground tomb, at the end of the room having another treasure for us to pick up. Once we grab that, we drive away into the next segment. Not too soon after, we find this tower, which then gives us our next journal entry. And straight after, for the first time in a while, gathering another one of those optional conversations with Sully. A couple of seconds later, we gather another conversation with Sam. Funny enough, when you climb the tower, there's a treasure right on top. And since we've gathered everything there, we start heading over to the next tower. And we find this little village, and for the first time, the mercenaries haven't beaten us there yet. So we walk along the side of the tower, inspect this sigil, which then gives us our next journal entry. After grabbing that, we climb over the tower, fall down with this box, which we then use to climb up and turn this handle. But whilst we're turning it, we end up getting ambushed. For some reason here, my recording didn't show any trophies popping, so I'm just going to show whenever they do. And as you can tell in the background, we actually got the defeat 10 in 60 trophy, which is for defeating 10 enemies in 60 seconds with the China Lake grenade launcher. I also want to take a quick second to talk about why this trophy hunt is a little bit all over the place. For the progression, it's a little weird to keep track of since I've already gathered all the trophies, re-recording all of this back, and this is going to be the only trophy hunting video where I don't have a trophy counter on top, since it's really hard to keep track of because this voiceover is made after I've finished gathering all the trophies. But don't worry, because at the very end I will show you that we have indeed gathered every single one of the trophies. Moving on, we start heading towards the next tower. But just before that, we find our last cairn needed in order for us to pop the trophy, where we run into another one of these hills. So again, we attach the winch and just drive on up the hill. After nearly dying because of a damn rock, we climb back into the driver's seat and up the cliff, where we find the tallest tower yet, but of course this game doesn't ever let us save the moment because we have more collectibles to grab. Starting with this treasure on top of these crates, the next one is down this gate, so we ask Sam to help us break this down. After heading inside, we have to blow up these crates in order to grab the next treasure, with the next one being on the other side of the room. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the final collectible of the chapter. So we follow Sam into this crack, leading us to find another statue of Saint Dismas. Sully then figures out that this is actually a map to the other towers around the city. But whilst trying to figure it out, the mercenaries once again ambush us. Once we take them all out, we find a map on one of the mercenaries, showing that they know about the towers as well. But with another trick up our sleeve, Nate pulls out the coin and realizes that we know which tower to go to. Unfortunately, since the coin is a little bit worn out, we can't really tell if it's this one either. So we come up with the plan that Sam goes to one tower whilst Nate and Sully go to the other. And it's here we start our next chapter, 11, Hidden in Plain Sight. As we go down the crowd, we take an immediate left, where in this corner we find the first treasure of the chapter. Soon after, we literally have to bargain for the next treasure, giving this guy $300 for this damn compass. What the But it's okay because we find this really cool lemur to stick with us, and then he comes and steals my apple. After not filing a police report, we just gather the next optional conversation with Sully. We then try to get into the tower, but unfortunately it's locked, so we're going to have to go the other way around. After hopping through the window, we go directly to our right and grab the next treasure. So we keep on moving forward and walk into the main lobby, where right in the middle there's a place for us to plop the coin right in. The mechanism then begins to open a bunch of statues in a certain order, with a bunch of bells ringing at the top of the tower. So we climb up and ring every single bell in the correct order, which leads to every sigil to appear on the floor, but after that nothing happens, so we figure we have to ring the big bell at the very top. So we start making our way up to the top, but before we ring that bell, there's a treasure and a trophy on top of the clock tower. So first we head on over and grab the treasure. Not too soon after, we head to the top and grab the trophy, I Can See My House From Here, which is from climbing the very top of the clock tower in the city. We head back down, ring the bell, which basically causes the entire clock tower to fall apart. We get back down to Sully, and just behind the rubble we find the last treasure of the chapter. Not too soon after, we squeeze through this rubble, complete a couple of puzzles, which leads us to our next clue on where the treasure might be. So we figure it out, and not too soon after, Sam calls our phone, but it actually turns out to be Rafe using his number. He tells us that he's on his way to Sam right now, so we warn Sam, destroy the phone, and head on outside. As we reach over the edge, we realize they've already gotten to Sam's tower, so buckle up and get prepared for the time of your life. You're probably wondering, why am I standing still? Well, weird enough, it's for the trophy, Stage Fright, which is basically standing perfectly still after going through that cutscene. This trophy has a funny little story behind it, as it's in reference to the controller dying in E3 at the stage demo. After having that trophy pop, we navigate our way throughout the crowd. We end up getting ambushed, so our first plan is to try and take out the enemies and get straight to the car. So we drive throughout the city with this big old truck chasing us. We make it to Sam's tower and see him running away from the mercenaries. So we turn the wheel and try to chase after him as much as we can. We chase as far as we can before running out of road, so our last option is to latch onto the truck and hold on for dear life. It drags us all the way down to land. Little did they know this is exactly what we wanted, and we use this opportunity to grab another trophy, Hanging Tough, which we destroy 10 vehicles while being dragged from this exact rope. You can only grab this trophy here in this chapter. We finally make it to Sam and then instantly get pit maneuvered by the damn truck. So we make our way out and get picked up by Sam. Instantly the truck starts chasing us, so we have to shoot back and try to get rid of the engine, but we also have to consider being careful for the 70% trophy. So we take out the truck, reminisce, and then drive on back to the hotel. When we meet up with Sully and try to decide when we're going to head out to the island, but as we're walking into the hotel, we happen to run into Elena. As it turns out, she took a flight here because she had a weird feeling. We try to explain to her what's going on, but obviously, as someone who's just been lied to for multiple weeks, she's not going to believe you. So she leaves the hotel room and Sully tries to convince us that maybe it's time to hang it all up. Of course, worried about Sam's safety, he says that he has no other choice, and for him to go watch Elena. We start to realize that this treasure is not only driving us apart, nearly killing us, but also steering us away from our sanity. We've officially made it to chapter 12, At Sea. This chapter has a bunch of collectibles, so let's get started. We dock at the first island that we see, grabbing the first journal entry of the chapter, and just to the right in a cave, we grab the 5th note of the playthrough. Since that's everything on that island, we decide to start heading out. We stop at another island, this time for a single treasure. We head towards this sunken ship, where we find another note, a journal entry, and we dive down into the ship to grab another treasure. And just outside, we grab another trophy, Marco Polo Returns, playing in the ocean near the sunken ship. We stop at another island, then head into the cave on the left and grab another treasure. And just a couple feet away from that one, right underneath this rock, is another treasure we can pick up. And for some weird reason, this trophy barely ends up popping here, which is Treasure Hunter, finding 50 treasures throughout the entire playthrough. Just behind that is another journal entry that we can gather. As we're searching throughout the island, we find a door mechanism in the middle of it, so we climb up the tower we saw earlier in hopes of finding a switch, which we very well did, but it didn't just open the door in front of us, it also gave us arrows on where the next clue is. So we head back to the boat and use this opportunity to grab more collectibles and a spare trophy. We swim over to this little island to grab yet another treasure, so we get back on the boat and drive in a straight line for a couple of minutes, and we'll end up getting the trophy on Porpoise, which is getting 3 dolphins to follow the boat. Afterwards, we climb this cliff and grab the next treasure at the very edge. We then make it to the next segment of the chapter in order to move forward. And just off to the right, we grab another treasure lingering around, and yet again in this little archway we find another treasure. Whilst looking at this scenic view, we gather another conversation with Sam. After that, we keep on moving forward, and on the first floor of this little watchtower, we find another treasure. Later on, we try to swing our way into this awkward spot of a cliff, because right on top there's another treasure to grab. We climb up this cliff and swing over to this strange looking bowl, where there not only is a treasure, but this is actually a milestone to another trophy, Relic Finder, finding the strange relics. And we're currently on our second one, which I forgot to mention, the Last of Us pendant a couple of chapters ago was actually our first strange relic. We're only missing one more. As we drop down this cliff, we find another journal entry. We drop down to the second rope and use it as momentum to grab the next treasure. So we drop down, head into the first room and grab this journal entry, and straight after we gather another conversation with Sam. We swim around in the underground section, hop up a couple of rocks and grab the next treasure. Soon after, we step on this sigil which opens up this door that leads to a puzzle room. We solve this puzzle, all of the statues come out except for Henry Avery's. So we head outside, and no wonder that door that we talked about earlier, that's exactly where Avery's statue is. We then drive back to the statue, and looking up at it gives us our final journal entry of the chapter. Afterwards, we climb up the statue, look into the monocular, and see the island that we're supposed to be headed to next. Sam is convinced that we found Libertalia, which is a place where all of the thieving pirates made their own currency, civilization, and so on. Nathan isn't too excited because he's still worried about Alcazar killing Sam. Before we can finish having the conversation, Nadine and Rafe's mercenaries are on their way towards us. And if this looks familiar, it's because it is. As we're headed towards the island, we get ambushed by the mercenaries and ultimately end up marooned, which is the title of the next chapter, 13. In this chapter, we have a couple of collectibles, but we mainly have a trophy that we need to worry about. And that trophy being Peaceful Resolution, which is after being marooned, leave everyone alive until the treasury. I didn't think this trophy would be that hard, but oh boy was I wrong. But for right now, we need to worry about getting out of here since we're stranded with absolutely no weapons and no supplies. We try to look for Sam, but we just can't seem to find him. So here we are, stranded, weak, alone, and weaponless. What else could possibly go wrong? After taking a well-deserved nap, so we wake up and notice that someone is giving us Morse code across the island. What they're spelling out was Sic Parvis Magna, obviously something only Sam knows. So we just keep on moving in that general direction. While we're climbing the side of this cliff, we find a treasure snuck into this crack. Not too soon after, we see a boat heading towards the island. Of course, it could only be one person, Rafe. So we try to move a little bit faster and get to Sam first. As we're going throughout this canal, on our left we find a treasure hidden just beneath this rock. Right after that, there's a skeleton along this wall which gives us our next journal entry. We climb up a couple of other cliffs, which leads to a cave that gives us another treasure. After leaving the cave, not only do we get a journal entry, but also a note right underneath. As we climb over to the skeleton, we take this brand new tool away from him since he won't be needing it anymore. So we use it to traverse further, and before you know it, we're at the first enemy encounter. In order to obtain the trophy that we were talking about earlier, we can't hurt or defeat any single person until the next chapter. But it's okay because we should be out of here in no time. I was so wrong. Nobody ever gets it first try, whatever. Yeah, the farthest I ever made it, and I fucking hit someone, you fuck. I'm not even joking when I tell you that this section alone took up 3 hours of my footage. 3 hours, that is nearly a third of the entire playthrough itself. I kid you not, this try right here, I told myself this was going to be the last try, and if I didn't get it, then I was just going to close the game and go to sleep, as it was already 4 in the morning, and I've been attempting this since 1 in the morning. This is my last try. I'm already so tired. It's so dumb. I don't even know why I'm having like such a big issue with this. This is the farthest I've ever made it. Is this the one? Oh, I'm scared. I'm scared. The end is in sight. Oh my god. Oh my god. All we gotta do is make this jump and swing. Oh my gosh. No. No. Oh, it's over. It's over. Oh my god. After literal hours of pain, it was finally over. I was in such disbelief. I mean, you can even see right here, I literally am going crazy. And that just proves that nothing, and I mean nothing, is ever going to stop us from pursuing this damn platinum. Just in front of the skeleton, we find the last note of the chapter. If we go up the ways near this hidden corner, we find a treasure at the very end. And after barely surviving a rock slide, we're reunited with Sam. It's this moment that Nathan reveals to Sam that he doesn't really care about the treasure anymore, and he wants to start thinking of strategic ways to put Sam into hiding. Sam mentions that he doesn't want to go back into hiding after hiding his whole life, being in jail for over 15 years. But while Sam is talking, Nathan notices something alongst the wall. The first ever sign that we've seen on our way here of anything related to Libertalia. We tell each other to look around to see what we can scourge or find. We find an abandoned building, and it's here that we also find the last treasure of the chapter. We climb to the top of this said building, and lo and behold, Libertalia. A myth we couldn't even 100% verify throughout history is sitting right in front of us. And it's here that we start the next chapter, 14, Join Me in Paradise. Well, Paradise can wait because we got a bunch of collectibles we need to start gathering, with the very first one being just to the right of the beginning of the chapter. As soon as we drop down, we can get another optional conversation from Sam. We then walk into the building on the right to grab this note. After that, we trigger another conversation with Sam. We then head upstairs in the old pub and gather another conversation with Sam. Once we head into the stable room, we grab another journal entry from there, and there's going to be quite a bit in this chapter. After that journal entry, lo and behold, another conversation with Sam. As we walk outside and inspect this tombstone, we get the 18th journal entry. Just behind the shop is the 72nd treasure. I know it seems like I'm skipping through to these collectibles, but they're actually all in the same vicinity of the area. If you go behind the statue and inspect it, you get another journal entry from that. Straight after, Sam puts his head in this little torturing device, giving us another optional conversation and a journal entry. We head through these abandoned prison cells next and grab another treasure that's needed. We end up finding this underground hideout that seems like a rebellious group against the whole colony. At the end of this tunnel to the right, we find another treasure. Not too soon after, we find another section of enemies that we can't defeat in order to obtain that trophy. Whilst we were sneaking all around them, we end up finding another note. Just in the other room over, on top of this ledge, we grab another treasure. We smoothly make it past those enemies, and funny enough, it leads us to another set of enemies. Again, with no issue, we get straight past these guys. This one was a little bit tricky to get to, but once you swing past inside of this opening, it's right on top of the box. Soon after, we head into the main building, where if you go into the room on the left, you gather another treasure on top of this table. Inside the villa upstairs, there's another treasure on top of this table. As we head deeper into the villa, we get a better understanding as to what really happened here. And while Sam is inspecting the skeleton, we gather the 19th conversation. A little bit off to the right of the main door, we gather another treasure. That being the last collectible of the chapter, we head inside and realize where we are. This was the room that all of the pirates hid inside of after stealing all of the treasure from the colony. We decide to start looking for clues, and it's here that the 15th chapter begins. The Thieves of Libertalia. And it's here where the Peaceful Resolution trophy finally pops, one of the worst trophies to gather on crushing. It was literal hell. And starting off with the collectibles on this chapter, we first have this note, and just a couple of steps forward we have this journal entry, and straight after that one we get another optional conversation from Sam. Underneath these bookshelves we have another treasure, and in a random box we find another note. My footage for some reason blacked out on the third note, but as you can see from right here, we did collect it, so I'm just going to count it. Not too soon after, we gathered the next optional conversation. After gathering all those collectibles, we head on out to the top of the tower. We find the next destination just in front of this mountain across the river, with this beautiful sight of the Skull Mountain. As we were heading down, we get ambushed by the mercenaries, so we head off to try and get down and out as fast as we can. We're bringing the whole freaking building out! Since the building was brought down, we climb our way back up and successfully survive the building falling down. And then before I could even breathe, I get one tapped almost instantaneously in this section right here. I feel like it's literally, we luckily get past that section, but we fall down due to a grenade blowing up and get separated from Sam. And as we jump into this window, we get surprised by Nadine. As she quite easily puts us to gunpoint, Sam becomes our savior.
I got this!
God damn. Now it's a 2v1. Nathan and Sam versus Nadine. Okay. This was a 2v1. Somehow we still find a way to get kicked out of a window once again. Oh my god, I love this part. Nadine! Oh. We tumble all the way down to the edge of this cliff and we try to reach this gun, but obviously Nadine isn't going to let that happen, but Sam is quick enough to stop her. It's here where Rafe finds us and holds all of us at gunpoint. Sam tells Rafe that he's serious and will shoot Nadine if they all don't put their guns down. Nathan stops him from doing so. Nate tries to sort out a deal with Rafe so we can all get a sum of the treasure. He gives Rafe a rundown on what Sam is going through with Alcazar, only requiring half of the treasure for his freedom. Rafe tells us that Alcazar died in a shootout 6 months ago. He also explains that he's the one who got Samuel out by bribing the warden, so he just walked out of the front gate. So not only did Sam drive a wedge in between our partner's relationship, but he also drove another wedge deeper into our best friends. He also explains that the entire time he was out of the prison, the only way he found that crucifix was doing it all with Rafe. But Rafe doesn't care how we feel. In an attempt to kill us both, we try to talk him out of it and explain that this whole time it's only been because of us that you're even near the treasure. He decides that we're right, but he doesn't need the both of us, he only needs Sam. And he tries to kill us while Sam takes a bullet for us and we fall off a cliff.
Nate! Hey, Nate!
There it is.
Who the hell lives here anyway?
No idea. But this is definitely the address. Been scoping the place out for the past few days. No one's home.
We flash back to the moment after the first chapter, on to the next one, chapter 16, The Brothers Drake. Instantly we get reminded we have more collectibles, so we grab this treasure on top of the bench, and we sneak into this window in hopes of finding our mom's old stuff. Not too soon after, we gather another conversation from Sam. While we're looking all around, we check out some of these treasure hunting pieces thinking they're fake, but after verification, they are real. A bit after, we head up these stairs and grab the next treasure on top of this box. And whilst looking a little bit around the manor, we do get another conversation with Sam, and this actually triggers 2 conversations with him. We looked around all over the manor, but we saw a couple of doors that were locked, so we figured if we hopped in the vent that we would be able to get in and grab a key. Whilst trying to climb a vent, we find the camera, take a sick picture, and then hop up and grab this treasure. Get into the room, grab this key, unlock the door, and then unlock this door. In here, we find our mom's stuff and then also get reminded that this is another person's house and that it's America. We tried to explain to her that we didn't come in here to steal but only take back some of our mom's stuff. The woman tells us that she used to work with our mom very close. Here, she explains to us the many theories our mother had in her head, and this is also the moment that we learn about the Henry Avery Gunsway heist. She gives us the journal back and hopes that one day we can discover these theories ourselves. The cops arrive and of course she lets us off the hook, but before we can leave, she passes out and dies. She hadn't handled the police yet, so they would only see this as murder on our part. So we get out of the house, almost get caught, but frantically make a good getaway. Whilst we stop to get our bearings, Sam decides that we should change our identities as if the cops might know who we are. So for our new life, we'll be hunting treasures and running from the cops. And as it turns out, this whole time, Nate was telling Elena this story. Since we figured out that Sam was lying about the Alcatraz story, we don't really care about the treasure anymore, and we only want to save Sam from Rafe. Elena wasn't the only one who came to save us, as Sully came in his plane to get us all out of here when the time comes. With Elena angry at us, our brother being completely lost with a psychopath, we enter the next chapter, 17, for better or worse. Straight after, we get our first conversation with Elena, and just a little bit to the left, we grab the next treasure. After traversing a bit, we grab another conversation with Elena. A bit after, we find this elevator that somehow still works. Whilst we're climbing, we get attacked by 2 enemies, but it's okay because I have good aim and Elena saved us with the other guy. Straight after, we get 2 back-to-back conversations with Elena. A little bit after, we drop down, grab this treasure. It's here we run into our first enemy encounter with Elena, and it's also here that we get another trophy, just floor it. Drive away in the Jeep with Elena without killing a single enemy. I expected this one to be a lot harder, just like that first one for the maroon trophy, but it actually wasn't too bad, and I got it after a couple of tries. As we drive along the path, we find this water wheel and also our first journal entry of the chapter. Not too soon after, we find the treasure on top of this box. After those 2 collectibles, we get this water wheel working for the elevator. We hopped onto the elevator and then get ambushed, but it's okay because we easily take care of that. We get back to Elena after defeating all the enemies and then go off to the edge of the cliff to grab this treasure. After driving a bit, we make this sick jump and then scurry off to these ruins to the side of the waterfall where I can then find this treasure and a note as well. We then head into the building upstream to grab another treasure by the water wheel. We then head into another elevator with the car to grab 2 optional conversations. After we hop out of the elevator, we have a couple of minutes of marriage counseling and decide it's time to start heading towards Sam. But before we can even get there, a bridge that we try to cross completely collapses. And after we both make it out of there safely, we apologize for the multiple promises that we broke by not telling the truth to Elena. And rightfully so, she's just not fully over it yet. If we look back at the bridge that collapsed on us, you get another journal entry. And just above that, in front of this skeleton's bag, we grab another note. After that, we discover a bunch of bodies piled on top of each other. We follow the path and it leads us to a graveyard and the brand new chapter, 18, New Devon. When we inspect this wooden cross, we gather another conversation with Elena. And a little bit down that same path is a treasure hiding at the end. We then go over to Elena and she wants to have another conversation. As we're climbing all over these cages, within the last one, we find a treasure at the very bottom of it. We climb over the door and not only see the colony, but also see Rafe ordering Sam around to figure out a puzzle. We figure that we have to get to him as fast as possible before he kills him after finding the treasure. So we hop down into the water and get going. Just to the left, we grab another treasure by this wall, and on this bed, we find another note. We run into a couple of enemies, but we get past them quite quickly. After getting out of the cave, next to this hung skeleton is another note. And because we picked up that note, it triggers an optional conversation with Elena. Just on the other side of the river, near the waterfall, is another treasure. We use this box to try to get from one roof to another, but once we try and cross the roof, it collapses on us. After we dive down from the roof, if we stand still for just a little bit, Elena has another conversation for us. If we look underneath the water, just before we enter the manor, there's another treasure in this corner. We make our way throughout the house, and behind this couch is a hidden treasure. We walk into the next room over, and once we interact with his face, we get another journal entry. And in the same room, on this desk, is a note. We ventured all over the house, and finally make our way into the dining room. There's a bunch of dead pirates in this room, because 2 and Avery decided to invite every other pirate for dinner. And it's here where both of them decided to poison every other pirate and take the treasure all for themselves. I can't stress this enough to tell you to play this game for yourself. Not only is it beautiful, but the story is something else, and I'm not involving every key point, so it's difficult for you to fall in love with the characters or the story itself. I'm only giving the people who haven't played this game a basic rundown on the story as I go throughout the trophies. After the cutscene ends, we pick up the note that Avery left behind on the table, and right after that, we gather the final journal entry of the entire playthrough, therefore popping the trophy Lost Art of Journaling, which is finding every single journal entry throughout the entire game. serves this trophy well, and I think this is a perfect moment to put this trophy. And right outside that room near this fireplace is the next note that we need. We then climb our ways up the manor and realize that Rafe's truck is here. As we're going the correct path, near the corner of this building lies another treasure. A few moments after that, we officially enter Henry Avery's house. And as we enter one of the main rooms, we get the final conversation up until the epilogue. We enter this barricaded room and on the dead body find a letter signed by Avery himself. After Elena reads the letter, she gives us the letter for us to keep in our journal. We find this room at the very end of the house, head upstairs and grab this treasure on this random table. We then head back downstairs and find Sam's lighter. Afterwards, Elena accidentally opens this secret room, where we then find this metal door. Of course, it had to close behind us, and it's here we start the next chapter, 19. Avery's Descent. As we head down the cave, we find a couple of other footprints just in case that there's Sam and Rafe's. We find this trapped walkway, but since they have a bunch of footprints at the top, we have no issues and just get to the other side. Soon after, both of our flashlights die on us, so Elena decides to light up a couple torches. We navigate throughout the cave and end up at one of the worst places possible. The place where Henry Avery hung up every single arm that stole from him. Not too soon after that, we run into booby-trapped mummies that are filled with explosives. We come down this tunnel and grab the first treasure of the chapter. We run into a couple of dead mercenaries until we run into some alive ones. Again, we got past those guys pretty easily and we end up in a room where Avery hung every mouth that spoke ill of him. And in the left walkway is the final treasure of the chapter. We then run into another one of these floor puzzles, but we get past it just fine. We are finally out of the cave, away from all of the booby traps, and as we attempt to open this door, of course we get booby trapped again. We get out of the trap, run for our lives from more traps, and then fall down to a lower floor. We have a moment with Elena, and before we can finish, we hear gunshots right outside. And this leads us to our next chapter, 20. No escape. We climb over the cliff and see a graveyard of ships. We head over to the cliff to find treasure 100. We're almost there, guys. Shortly after that, we notice Sam running away from all the mercenaries. So we start helping him out and take out every single mercenary we possibly can. We head to the lower level and take out the last guy in the area. We then take out everybody inside the ship. We head out of the ship, take out the remaining enemies. We notice Sam fighting by his lonesome, so we try to get to him as fast as possible. We reunite with Sam and instantly get blown up into the basement of the ship. We RPG the other ship next to us, giving us a way to cross over. We try to run out of here, but it seems like Nathan is always the unlucky one. We fall into the water beneath the ship, get out of the water and take out anyone nearby. We then use this RPG to take down this turret mounted truck. And as we try to make our escape, another turret mounted truck is chasing us throughout the city. We fall down what looks like a water canal and an RPG hits the truck. It turns out that it's Sully. He passes us the RPG and we take out the truck with one final blow. We get lifted up by Sully and we're all reunited, including Elena, Sam, and Sully. We're all ready to get off the island, but Sam is confused on what's going on. He just can't wrap his head around that we came this far and are giving up near the treasure. We explain to Sam that it's just not worth our dignity nor our lives. He tells us that the treasure is right underneath that mountain. We explain to him that we're just not those kids anymore and we're growing old of age and we need to move on with our lives even if we don't like it. Personally, I can understand Sam's point of view. He's been in jail for majority of his life as Nathan has always uncovered all of these treasures and cities. But we ultimately all decide to move on and start heading towards the plane. But in this room, if we look around, we can find the first treasure hidden on top of this cabinet. We find another treasure hidden in a townhouse. We help the gang cross over with this pulley system, but when we try to hop on, it breaks and Sam has to go to the right while we go to the left with Elena and Sully. This is the opportunity that Sam uses to go after the treasure by himself, encouraging them to go out and he'll come and find them after. Since we think he's gonna get himself killed, we all decide to go after him. As we're heading in his direction, we find the second to last note of the playthrough. We head upstairs of the very same building to find the next treasure, and just in the building across, we gather the last treasure of the chapter. After that last collectible, we push this carriage over to the wall so we can then climb over. But unfortunately, it just wouldn't stay, so they only had enough time to hold it up for Nathan to climb over. Nathan explains that he will be back with his brother, not with the treasure, but only his brother, since that's the only thing that matters now. So off we go into chapter 21. Brother's Keeper. We find a couple of footprints, hoping that they're Sam's. We then rope onto this cliff to grab the first treasure of the chapter. And as we're heading down the right path, we find the final note of the entire playthrough, which leads to us gaining the trophy Lost History, which is for finding every single journal note in the entire game. We keep on moving and find more footprints. As we head inside the cave, we find another treasure in this box. We attach our rope and jump off the cliff, and as we do an entire 180, we find Henry Avery's ship. We swing over to this secret ledge, we head inside and find another treasure, this one being the last in order to obtain the Relic Finder trophy, which is finding every single strange relic. Moving on, we head down towards the ship because we have a strange feeling that that's where Sam is going to be. We fall down into the water and grab this next treasure just nearby. As we swim over towards Avery's ship, we happen to hear Nadine and Rafe having a conversation. Nadine has enough gold to retire her and all of her mercenaries, yet Rafe wants more. He wants to make history and doesn't want Sam to beat him. Nadine refuses, but Rafe forces her to come along with him onto the ship. We use this moment to try and get over to the ship and save Sam, and this is where the final chapter begins. Chapter 22, A Thief's End. If we go underwater of the dock, we grab the very last treasure of the entire playthrough, leading us to the trophy Treasure Master, which is finding every single treasure in the entire game. As we look over towards Avery's ship, a cannon has just been set off, so we rush over there as soon as possible. We hop down the mid-level, and there it is, all of the treasure that we spent this entire game trying to look for. We skip on over that, and behind this door we find Rafe and Sam knocked out. We didn't know we'd be walking into a trap as Nadine comes out from behind us to hold us at gunpoint, but not too soon after she also holds the gun behind Rafe's head and demands for his gun as well. She tells us to look over to the right and it's Avery and two. They killed each other for the treasure. They couldn't come up with a reason on who gets what half, so they decided to fight over all of it. Soon after, she locks us in. With no other choice, we tried to wake Sam up and ask Rafe for help in picking him up, but Rafe has other ideas. He tells us he won't be able to enjoy this treasure unless both of us are dead. And so the famous Uncharted 4 swords fight begins. And it's here I want to introduce you guys to the next trophy, Swordsmaster, perfectly parrying Rafe in the sword fight without getting stabbed or slashed. This means we can't even take one hit or any damage throughout this entire fight. So let's get her done.
On guard, dickhead.
Come on, legend. Come on, Nate. That's the Nathandrake I hear so much about. All right.
You want the treasure, Rafe? It's all yours.
After letting Rafe have all of the treasure, we blow a hole in the ship and the water helps us lift this wooden beam up from Sam. We get out of the ship and barely escape out of the cave entrance. Luckily, Elena is right outside waiting for us. She then lets Sully know where we are with the flare, and on the plane we are, escaping from the island. With no treasure, but at least we still have our lives. It cuts to Nate saying his farewells to Sully and his brother, as him and Elena are headed back home. It again cuts to Nathan back at work at the office. Then Jameson comes in and lets us know that we're buying the entire company from him. We head outside and Elena is here. Nathan is confused as how we could possibly afford this entire company. It's here Elena shows us a doubloon from Avery's treasure. It turns out that Sam brought a bunch of doubloons with him before he left the ship, giving Elena a good sum. So both Nathan and Elena welcome the adventure in their life and stop trying to live a normal one. As they begin talking about what's next for them, it cuts back to this game. What the? Oh, you're crazy if you think I'm playing this again. Alright, let's go kill myself. After undoubtedly beating the high score, we get shown a brand new character, someone we're actually not familiar with at all. It's here we get introduced into the epilogue. As we're looking through these pictures, we start to realize that we are Nathan and Elena's kid. We walk around the house, do a couple of stupid things, we head outside and go near this boat dock and have the final conversation of the game with the dog. And you know exactly what that means, the final collectible trophy, Gift of Gab. Listening to every single optional conversation. Straight after, we head into this boathouse and uncover the secrets that Nathan had never shared with his daughter. The one that caught her eye the most was Henry Avery and the Gunsway heist. We check out the sick selfie that we took, and Nathan barges in looking for us. He can easily put two and two together and notice that we rummaged in his treasure closet. He doesn't want to tell her about anything, but Elena exclaims that him and Sam were way younger whenever they started. Elena starts explaining all of the events from Uncharted 1, and it's here Nathan says that we should all go on the boat and resume the story there. And from the door, Elena watches them walk away. She heads back to the journal to reminisce all of the memories they had while treasure hunting. And that's the game. I can't recommend enough that you go play this on your own. I didn't go over every single minute detail, and you can't get used to any of the characters or comedy or anything like that unless you play this game yourself. And for some weird reason, they make you watch all of the credits. You can't skip it, just like every other game. They like force you to watch all the people that worked on this game. As soon as we get back to the title card, we have 3 specific trophies pop. That's Charted Hard for beating the game on hard mode, Charted Crushing for beating the game on crushing, and Sharpshooter for completing the game with 70% or higher accuracy. Now, as I said before, we have a bunch of trophies to clean up, so we're going to go ahead and get started on all of those. We first start off with the Ghost in the Cemetery one, which was no issue at all, and we got by it pretty easily. If you remember from the very beginning of the playthrough, I mentioned that this spot was a good spot to get a trophy, Cliffhanger. Basically, all you do is take out this guy from this exact ledge, press start, and then restart the checkpoint and do it over and over and over until the trophy pops. Eventually, we finally get the last one and the trophy pops. The next one we're going to go for is Unstoppable, which is defeating 100 enemies in a row without dying in combat. You're probably wondering how the hell are you going to do this? It's going to take you a bunch of time. That it is, but we actually found a cheese spot specifically for this trophy. If you stay in this exact area, enemies will just keep spawning because they're trying to stop you from getting to the limo. However, we don't really care about getting into the limo, we just want to get 100 kills in a row. And we do just that because after about an hour and a half, the trophy ultimately ends up popping. The next trophy that we're going to be going for is Hitting a Brick Wall, which is defeating 5 armored enemies with melee only. Again, we found another spot where we just restart the checkpoint and do it all over again. And after restarting it 2 or 3 more times, defeat this guy and we get the trophy to pop. The next one we went for was Rushing Roulette, which is defeating 4 enemies with a pistol, machine gun, and grenade. As you can tell in the background, we got that quite easily, it took us about 30 seconds, and the trophy popped. The next one we went for was Butterfingers, making 10 enemies drop their grenades. Not only is there a spot to restart, but there's a modifier to slow down time just before they throw the grenades so we can easily shoot it out of their hand. After about 10 resets, the Butterfingers trophy popped. We go for the next one, Hangman's Bullet, which is performing 20 headshots while hanging from a rope. I'm not going to bore you with this footage, but after a couple of resets, the trophy ended up popping. The next one we went for was Run the Table, which is defeating multiple enemies, one with the stealth attack, one with the melee attack, one with the headshot, and one with an explosive, all in that order in under 15 seconds. We barely get this one by a slight chance. Alright, that's stealth. That's melee. Headshotted, boom. Now we need an explosive. Do we throw the dynamite? Boom. Boom, baby. Hey. The next one we're going to be going for is I Thought I Heard Something, which is performing 30 vertical takedowns. There's another spot for this one, so I just headed over here and kept restarting the checkpoint, and after a couple, we got it easy peasy. The next one we went for was Leapfrog, which is defeating 10 enemies in a row, alternating gunplay and hand-to-hand, which is basically melee, shooting, melee, shooting, melee, shooting. And after 10 enemies and 2 attempts, we got the trophy to pop. Right after that one, we attempted the Trials and Tribulations one, which is solving the first trial in Scotland in 10 moves or less. We did it in like 6 moves. I don't even know how we didn't get this done the first time. And right after the door fully opens, the trophy pops. Now for the last trophy, I've been dreading this since the beginning, as when I checked all over Reddit, people struggle to have this trophy pop for them. That trophy being I accidentally all the guns, which is using every single gun in Uncharted 4. Now you might be confused since I mentioned at the beginning that you can unlock every single gun, but they actually don't only count these weapons, they also count a couple of barrels and a couple of other objects that you can throw at enemies. So we started off this trophy by getting a kill with every single weapon possible in the bonus weapons. After all of those were completed, we headed towards the end of the game to get this throwable barrel. As we headed down towards the ship, we grabbed this turret and did it with this one as well, straight after doing a grenade just in case it didn't count in the whole playthrough. And for the second to last one, we needed to get on this turret in the Scotland section. We backtracked a couple encounters and this propane tank would be the last one until the trophy pops. I don't know where he is. Oh, he's up top. Hopefully this counts. Boom, baby. I accidentally all the guns. And a Thief's Legacy. Let's go, dude. And just so you guys know, I'm not bluffing. It's hard to tell on Steam, but here are all of the trophies. 58 out of 101, and that's only because it's tied with the other Uncharted game. Let me know if you guys want to see that one. I haven't completed that one yet, but yeah, as you can see, every single Uncharted trophy. I can't believe we did this, man. This took me like 16 hours on top of the hours I already put in, man. Torture. That's the word that I would describe almost every single platinum trophy that I've gotten. But for some reason, this one was different. It was fun, enjoyable, and not only that, I laughed more than I could even count. On top of the challenging trophies, the story was absolutely beautiful. The graphics and views were breathtaking. This is just one of those games that no matter how many times I come back to it, no matter how many breaks I take, I will always be hungry for the climbing, rope swinging, and combat. And if I was given the opportunity, I would play this game for the first time ever, so many times. But I guess that's another thing in life that you've just gotta learn to let go. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, as I've taken so much time and effort to put this edit together for you guys. Please let me know any other platinums you'd like to see me achieve, as I've already pre-ordered Lego Batman and 007. Once again, thank you for watching.